Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com here in the Star Wars Cantina in the BEC Arena in Manchester for Wrestling MediaCon, and I'm delighted to be joined by Scott D'Amore. How are you?
Hey Jack, happy to be here, and this is a pretty cool setting.
Yeah. Now, obviously you're one of the minds behind Impact of recent months, and the promotion has undergone a tremendous resurgence in popularity. The reception from everyone's been fantastic, and it was all kind of capped off recently by that awesome Slammiversary show. What was it like seeing that show come together?
You know, Slammiversary was basically the culmination of 6 months of really hard work by a lot of people. Most importantly, a great roster of super talented men and women that have went out there. And, you know, when the year started, everybody had to kind of push that negativity that was out there, that cloud of negativity aside, and focus on what we were doing. And I think our group has done an unbelievable job of doing that. And I think that at Slammiversary, you know, really just was like an exclamation point of 6 months of nose to the grindstone, going out there and just working hard and knowing that it was going to take a long path. Like, no, there's going to be no overnight fixes. Like when we were over here the beginning of the year in January, myself, Don Callis, and Ed Nordholm as the management team, we stressed when everybody was saying, well, what's going to be the difference maker? The difference maker, we always said, isn't going to be one thing. It's going to be a bunch of small things that combine to be part of an overall success. And having Brian Cage come in and join the team, having Sami Callihan sign a long-term deal, the continued growth of LAX, everything we've seen, guys like Rich Swann coming in. We've had such a great influx of fresh talent. Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix coming on board. We really have all these little things, and then going out there, getting out in front of the people. Like, this company had not run an event that people bought tickets to in a very long time. And getting out there, whether it was in Toronto or whether it was in Windsor or whether it was in Knoxville, Tennessee, or whether it was, you know, in Binghamton, New York, wherever it was, we went out there and we didn't go out there and have any illusions of going out there and running giant arenas. We got out there and got in front of fans and interacted with fans. We wanted wrestling fans to know that Impact Wrestling was a wrestling company, not just a TV company that just spits out content. We're a wrestling company that cares about wrestling, loves this business, and is going to go out there, be passionate about it, and go out there and put a solid product that they can start to believe in and week out.
I guess as well, not just a wrestling company, but a company that embraces many different styles of wrestling. Even on that Slammiversary show, we saw high-flying action. We saw a rather terrifying street fight between Sami Callihan and Pentagon, which is one of the most remarkable matches of the year, in my opinion. Is that the sort of thing that the wrestlers pitch in themselves, or is that more the company sort of dictating, oh, these are the directions we're going to go in? Or how much of sort of a teamwork kind of process is it, would you say?
Well, certainly we try to be interactive with our talent. We try to make sure that they feel that they have an opportunity to speak their mind, pitch their ideas, express their opinion. And, you know, in 2018, we're no longer in a world where, you know, in the 60s and 70s, every territory had their style, right? Like the Carolinas had this style, you know, where they're tag team based action. You know, New York was all the big men. You know, Detroit was a blood territory and a brawling territory. You know, the UK had World of Sport and the catch as catch can style, and that's such a great technical style with Johnny Saint and everybody else there. So I mean, in this day and age, I don't think anybody wants to sit there and watch a card that has one style from beginning to end. I think you have to look at it. You know, Jimmy Hart used to say, wrestling, when it's done right, is like the circus. There's a little bit of everything, and there's something for everybody. And that's kind of been our approach. We want to go out there. We want to always feature passionate, talented performers. We do want to feature an athletic style, but that doesn't mean that there's not room for comedy. That doesn't mean that there's not room for a good brawl. And I think Slammiversary was a great mix. And then, you know, one of those things is we got ready for Slammiversary, and some people, both inside and outside of the company, one of their concerns was, you're going to do all this. And everybody knew Sami and Penta were going to go out there and you know, half kill each other. And then everybody's question was, how does your main event with Aries and Moose go out there and do a wrestling match?
It was a classic wrestling match as well.
It was, and to me, I think it was exactly what we wanted. It was exactly what we, you know, aspired for it to be. It was after all this chaos and everything we saw from the amazing opener and the four-way all the way through Sami and Penta, then we set the table and we brought it there and we had a world-class wrestling match between one of the very best pure wrestlers in the sport, Austin Aries, and then a young guy like Moose, comes from background but has certainly absorbed himself from football into wrestling, and they went out there and had a classic world title match. And to me, it was kind of reminiscent of ECW in the sense where you could have all this chaos, and you could have New Jack, and you could have Sabu, and you could have the Cheese Grater and Fire and the Dudleys and whatever else. And then when that main event came for a long period of time, when ECW was really coming up, and then you had the franchise Shane Douglas, who went out there and had a wrestling match. And I thought that those guys did an amazing job in that main event, and you can tick your way all the way down the card. And I thought everybody just hit on all cylinders. It was great to be in a building that was sold out and packed of people that had a vested interest in this show. They didn't just flip channels and find it. They made a conscious decision in advance because we don't take for granted sellouts, and the fact that we sold out in advance, everybody paid money to be in that building and were invested in the product. Then you saw what it's like when the fans are invested and the talent goes out there and goes above and beyond in their job. There's a special atmosphere, and we certainly felt like we had that at Slammiversary.
Now, you've mentioned some of the front runners more towards the top of the card, guys like Austin Aries, the current champion, and Moose. But are there any wrestlers on the roster who you can see maybe on the cusp of making that jump to the next level? Any names in particular?
I think and I mentioned them earlier, but like LAX, Santana, and Ortiz. They came on board last year with Impact. They certainly did some good stuff through the year. I think this year they've just been hitting it on all cylinders and been on a whole different level. Obviously, sitting under the learning tree with Conan on a daily basis, that is going to give anybody a step up in trying to be an elite in this business. And you go beyond that. I mean, Brian Cage certainly isn't a newcomer, but coming into our universe, I thought he's done fantastically. I think you've seen a good mix. Joe Hendry, who is a guy who is certainly well known over here, but in America isn't. And when we first started chatting about Joe, even people that were in the industry are kind of like, okay.
I think the thing about Joe is that he's very charismatic and very ostentatious, but people don't understand he's a wrestler as well. He can really go in the ring.
But one of the things is, we all do it now, right? Is say, talking about World of Sport, talking about doing something, bringing in Joe Hendry, which excites me. Like, look, a guy who's been, a business associate and, my sidekick for many years, his nickname's Drum Boy. He's been with me for over 20 years running Border City Wrestling and other projects. He was pitching Joe Hendry in my ear.
All right.
And then I looked him up. My first house, I looked him, I was like, okay, he's an okay wrestler, because I did what everybody does. I got on my phone, looked up a couple Joe Hendry matches, but just thinking, well, it's an expensive ticket from the UK, and then you're dealing with visa issues, and is it really worth investing in that? You have to go behind that. I mean, obviously his videos and his singing is tremendous. His promos are very good, and you combine it with him being a very solid wrestler. I mean, one of the few, I love it people, talk about good wrestlers. Here's a legitimately good Commonwealth Games good, which is pretty impressive. And he's a total package. So getting a guy like him in and on the scene, I think there's huge upside to Joe. Joe has all the attributes that are needed to be a main eventer. And he's young, he's hungry, and he's sharp too. Some of the production stuff that he does, he really is. He gets every aspect of this business, and we're excited to have him here with us. And I think that as we set the table for 2019, he's something we can expect big things from.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Scott. Thank you for joining us here at Wrestling Media Con. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and that's pretty much all I've got to say. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget, of course, to join us.